Tonight's the night. Once you marry her, the Bennett fortune is ours. Don't forget, she's just a means to an end. I love you, not her. S. Welcome to Rose and Retribution. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. The text was addressed to her fiancé, Marcus Stone, the man she was supposed to marry in exactly 3 hours. The man she'd loved since college. The man who was, at this very moment, standing across the room in his pristine tuxedo, laughing with wedding guests, playing the role of the devoted groom-to-be. The perfect fade crumbles. Welcome to Rose and Retribution. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Lily's hands trembled as she scrolled up through the message thread. Months of texts, intimate photos, plans, conspiracies. Her stomach turned as the truth unraveled before her eyes like a poisonous flower blooming in fast motion. Marcus wasn't marrying her for love. He was marrying her for her family's pharmaceutical empire, worth over $2 billion. And he wasn't doing it alone. The sender's contact name made Lily's blood run cold. Sarah Chen. Her maid of honor. Her best friend since childhood. The woman who had helped her pick out this very wedding dress, who had held her hand through her mother's death last year, who had sworn she would always protect her. Lily? Sweetheart, you look pale. Marcus appeared at her elbow, his hand gentle on her lower back. The same hand that had been photographed caressing Sarah's bare skin just 2 nights ago, according to the timestamps. The performance of a lifetime. Lily looked up at him. His green eyes, the ones she'd once thought were windows to a beautiful soul, were filled with concern. Or was it? Now she could see it for what it truly was. Calculation. He was checking to see if his investment was secure. I'm fine, Lily whispered, shoving the phone into her clutch. Her mind was racing. 3 hours until the ceremony. Hundreds of guests already arriving. Her father, sick with pneumonia, had flown in from Paris specifically for this day. The prenuptial agreement, the one Marcus had insisted was just a formality, was already signed. If she married him, he would get access to her trust fund. $20 million immediately. Control of her voting shares in Bennett Pharmaceutical, a seat on the board. You sure? Marcus pressed, his smile just a fraction too tight. Sarah's looking for you. Something about the flowers. Sarah. Of course. Tell her I'll find her, Lily said, her voice steady despite the storm raging inside her chest. The confrontation in the bridal suite. Lily found Sarah in the bridal suite, adjusting her lavender maid-of-honor dress in the full-length mirror. She looked radiant, her dark hair swept up in an elegant chignon. Her lips painted the exact shade of pink Lily had chosen for the wedding palette. There you are. Sarah beamed, turning with open arms. Lily, oh my God, you look like you've seen a ghost. Pre-wedding jitters? Lily closed the door behind her, locked it. The soft click echoed in the suddenly airless room. I saw the texts, Lily said quietly. Sarah's smile froze. For a moment, neither woman moved. Then Sarah's expression shifted, not to shame or regret, but to something far more chilling. Relief. The mask dropped, and underneath was a stranger. Cold, calculating, cruel. When did you find them? Sarah asked casually, turning back to the mirror to reapply her lipstick. The truth unveiled. Does it matter? Lily's voice cracked despite her best efforts. How long, Sarah? How long have you been sleeping with my fiancé? Since the engagement party, Sarah replied, examining her reflection with detached interest. That night you got so drunk celebrating, remember? Marcus drove me home. We got to talking. One thing led to another. 8 months. They'd been betraying her for 8 months. Why? The word came out as barely a whisper. Sarah finally turned to face her, and in her eyes, Lily saw something she'd never noticed before. Envy. Deep, festering, poisonous envy. Because you have everything, Lily. You always have. The money, the company, the perfect life handed to you on a silver platter, while the rest of us have to scrape and fight for every scrap. Sarah's voice was sharp now, vicious. Marcus and I, we're the same. We know what it's like to be hungry, and we're tired of watching you play princess in your ivory tower. So you decided to rob me? We decided to take what should have been earned, not inherited, Sarah corrected. Besides, you'll still be rich. Just not obscenely, offensively rich. Think of it as wealth redistribution. The impossible choice. Lily felt something inside her shift. The heartbreak was still there, a gaping wound in her chest. But something else was rising beneath it, something cold and sharp and utterly unforgiving. You think I'm just going to let this happen? Lily asked, her voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. Sarah laughed, actually laughed. What are you going to do, Lily? Call off the wedding? Embarrass yourself in front of 400 guests? Disappoint your dying father? Break his heart by admitting you chose a con artist? She stepped closer, her smile venomous. You're trapped, sweetheart. You can either marry Marcus and pretend you don't know, or you can make a scene and watch your family's reputation burn. Either way. The door handle rattled. Marcus's voice came through, bright and cheerful, ladies. It's almost time. Lily, your father wants to see you. Sarah's eyes glittered with triumph. Choose wisely, she whispered. The spark of vengeance. Lily looked at her former best friend, at the woman who had betrayed her in the most fundamental way possible, and made a decision. You're right, Lily said softly, reaching for the door handle. I am trapped. She unlocked the door, and Marcus swept in, all charm and perfect smiles. He kissed Lily's temple, and she let him, even as her skin crawled. Ready to become Mrs. Stone? He asked. Lily looked at him, then at Sarah, then back at him. Absolutely, she said, her voice steady. I can't wait. As Marcus led her out of the suite, Lily glanced back at Sarah one last time, and Sarah, secure in her victory, had no idea that Lily Bennett wasn't the naive little princess she'd always believed her to be. Lily's mother had taught her something before she died. The best revenge is served cold, calculated, and absolutely devastating. And Lily had just decided she was going to serve it with a smile. What they didn't know was that Lily had recorded every word Sarah had said, and the wedding was still going to happen, but not the way either of them expected. The ceremony of lies. The organ music swelled through the cathedral, each note a hammer blow to Lily's heart. She stood in the vestibule, her arm linked through her father's, the weight of her phone pressed against her thigh beneath the layers of white silk. The recording was there. 32 minutes of Sarah's confession, crystal clear. You look beautiful, sweetheart, her father whispered, his voice weak from illness. James Bennett had aged a decade in the year since his wife died. His hands shook as he patted her arm. Your mother would be so proud. Lily swallowed the bile, rising in her throat. Her mother would have burned the cathedral down before letting this wedding happen. But her mother was gone, and Lily was alone in a room full of vultures. Daddy. She whispered, I need to tell you something. After the ceremony, he interrupted gently. Whatever it is, it can wait an hour. Let's get you married first. The doors opened. 400 faces turned to look at her. At the end of the aisle, Marcus stood at the altar, devastatingly handsome in his Tom Ford tuxedo. Beside him, Sarah, beautiful, treacherous Sarah, clutched her bouquet of lavender roses and smiled. The breaking point. Lily began the longest walk of her life. Each step felt like descending into hell. The guests smiled at her. Business associates, distant relatives, society friends who cared more about the open bar than the sanctity of marriage. None of them knew. None of them cared. Halfway down the aisle, Lily's eyes met Marcus's. He winked at her, actually winked, like this was all just a game, and something inside Lily snapped. She stopped walking. The organ music faltered, confused. Her father looked at her, concern flooding his features. The guests began to murmur, a soft wave of uncertainty rippling through the pews. "Lily?" her father whispered. "What's wrong?" Lily looked at Marcus. Then at Sarah, then at the officiant, Father Michael, who had baptized her as an infant, who had buried her mother, who believed in the sanctity of truth above all else. "I can't do this," Lily said quietly. The revelation. The murmuring grew louder. Marcus's smile froze on his face, but his eyes flashed with panic and fury. "Lily, darling, it's just nerves," he started, stepping down from the altar. "I said I can't do this." Lily's voice was stronger now. She pulled her arm from her father's grip and reached into the hidden pocket of her dress. Her hands didn't shake as she pulled out her phone. "I can't marry a man who's been plotting to steal my family's company. I can't marry a man who's been sleeping with my maid of honor since the engagement party." The cathedral erupted. Gasps. Shouts. Sarah went white as death. "That's insane." Marcus laughed, but the sound was hollow, desperate. "Lily, you're clearly having some kind of episode. Am I?" Lily held up her phone. Her voice rang out clear and cold through the vaulted space. "Then explain this." She pressed play. Sarah's voice filled the cathedral. "Because you have everything, Lily. You always have. Marcus and I, we're the same. We know what it's like to be hungry." The recording played for 2 minutes. 2 minutes of confession, conspiracy, and contempt. When it ended, the silence was deafening. The aftermath of truth. Marcus moved first. He lunged toward Lily, his handsome face twisted with rage. "You manipulative little." But he never reached her. Lily's father, weak as he was, stepped between them, and so did someone else, someone Lily hadn't expected. Ethan Cross, Marcus's own best man, caught Marcus's arm and twisted it behind his back with practiced efficiency. "I wouldn't," Ethan said quietly, his voice laced with steel. Lily stared at him. Ethan Cross, venture capitalist, Marcus's college roommate, the man who had been polite but distant during the entire wedding planning process. He was tall, dark-haired, with eyes the color of smoke and a scar cutting through his left eyebrow that gave him a dangerous edge. "Let me go," Marcus snarled. "Not a chance." Ethan looked at Lily, and something in his expression made her heart stutter. Respect, admiration, and something else, something that felt like recognition. "You recorded her. Smart move. How did you?" Lily started. "I've been investigating your fiancé for 3 months, Ethan said, still holding Marcus in place. "Turns out he's done this before. Twice. Wealthy women, forged emotional connections, strategic marriages, quick divorces with substantial payouts." He met her eyes. "I tried to warn you. I sent anonymous information to your office. But you never responded." The conspiracy deepens. Lily's mind reeled. The anonymous letter. She'd thought they were from a jealous ex or a business rival. She'd thrown them away without reading most of them. "You knew?" she whispered. "I suspected. I couldn't prove it until tonight." Ethan's jaw tightened. "I'm sorry I couldn't stop this sooner." Sarah finally found her voice. "This is ridiculous. You can't prove anything. Actually, I can." Ethan released Marcus with a shove that sent him stumbling. He pulled a flash drive from his pocket. Bank records. Emails. Text messages recovered from Marcus's laptop, including communications with 3 other women he's currently courting. You weren't his only target, Lily. You were just the biggest payday. The guests were in full uproar now. Lily's father had gone gray, leaning heavily on a pew. Security was moving in. And Sarah was edging toward the side exit. "Oh no," Lily said, her voice cutting through the chaos like a blade. "Sarah, stay exactly where you are." The turn of power. Sarah froze, her eyes darting between the exits and the advancing security guards. "You said I was trapped," Lily continued, walking slowly toward her former friend. "You said I'd have to choose between exposing you and protecting my family's reputation." She stopped inches from Sarah's face. "But you forgot something important." "What?" Sarah spat. "I'm a Bennett. We don't get trapped. We set the traps." Lily turned to face the congregation. Her voice rang out, clear and commanding. Her mother's voice, her grandmother's voice, the voice of women who had built empires and buried enemies. "This wedding is canceled. Marcus Stone and Sarah Chen will be escorted from the premises and will be hearing from my attorneys. Anyone who wishes to stay for what will now be a rather expensive cocktail reception is welcome to do so." She glanced at her father, who despite his shock was looking at her with something like pride. "Daddy, we need to talk. About the company, about the board, and about how we're going to make sure something like this never happens again." The unexpected ally. As security moved in to remove Marcus and Sarah, both of whom were screaming threats and accusations, Ethan approached Lily quietly. "That was impressive," he said. "That was survival," Lily corrected, her adrenaline finally beginning to crash. Her hands were shaking now. "Thank you for trying to warn me. For stopping him. I have a confession," Ethan said, his voice low enough that only she could hear over the chaos. "I wasn't just investigating Marcus to be a good Samaritan." Lily looked at him, wary. "What do you mean?" 3 years ago, Marcus pulled the same scam on my sister. She was so devastated she tried to kill herself. She survived, but..." His jaw clenched. "She's never been the same. I've been tracking him ever since, waiting for the chance to take him down. So you befriended him? Became his best man? Keep your enemies closer." Ethan's smile was grim. "I figured if I was in the wedding party, I'd have access. I'd see the patterns. I'd be able to protect you when the time came." The proposition. Lily studied him. There was something about Ethan Cross that felt dangerous and safe at the same time, like standing at the edge of a cliff, terrifying, but also exhilarating. "What happens now?" she asked. "Now?" Ethan pulled out a business card and pressed it into her palm. "Now you take a breath. You regroup, and when you're ready, if you're ready, you call me. Because Marcus and Sarah aren't going to go quietly. They're going to fight back. They're going to try to destroy your reputation, claim you're unstable, maybe even forge evidence against you." His eyes darkened. "And I can help you bury them so deep they'll never see daylight again. Why would you help me?" Lily whispered. Ethan leaned in close, his breath warm against her ear. "Because I've been where you are. And because..." He pulled back, meeting her eyes. "Because you deserve better than what they tried to do to you." "Everyone does." He turned to leave, then paused. "Oh, and Lily, that recording you made? Make 100 copies, store them everywhere. Because people like Marcus and Sarah, they're survivors, and they will do anything to discredit you." As Ethan disappeared into the crowd, Lily looked down at his business card. Plain black, embossed silver lettering, Ethan Cross, Private Investigation and Asset Protection, and underneath, handwritten in pen, "Call me when you're ready for war." Lily Bennett stood in her wedding dress, surrounded by the wreckage of her almost marriage, and made a decision. She wasn't going to just survive this, she was going to make them pay. Every single betrayal, every lie, Every stolen moment she would repay tenfold. And with Ethan Cross at her side, she finally had the weapon she needed, the truth. But what neither of them knew was that Marcus and Sarah had one more card to play, and it involved Lily's late mother's will. The ultimate payback. The hidden clause. 24 hours after the wedding that wasn't, Lily sat in her father's study at the Bennett estate, surrounded by lawyers. The room smelled of old leather and cigars, the scent of power and legacy. Outside, rain hammered against the windows, matching the storm churning in her chest. "There's something you need to know," her father said, his voice grave. He pushed a leather-bound document across the mahogany desk. "Your mother's will. There's a clause I never told you about." Lily's hands trembled as she opened it. The pages were yellowed with age, her mother's elegant signature at the bottom of each one. She skimmed the legal language until she found it, the paragraph that made her blood run cold. In the event that Lillian Marie Bennett enters into marriage, 51% controlling interest of Bennett Pharmaceuticals shall transfer to her spouse upon the marriage certificate being filed with the state, regardless of prenuptial agreements or subsequent divorce proceedings. "No," Lily whispered. "No, that's not possible." "Your mother wrote this 20 years ago," her father explained, anguish in his eyes. "She believed in the sanctity of marriage. She wanted to ensure that your future husband would be invested in the family legacy. She never imagined that someone would use it as a weapon." Lily's mind raced. The marriage certificate. "Did we file it?" Her attorney, a shark-eyed woman named Patricia Moore, shook her head. "Not yet. The officiant never signed it because the ceremony wasn't completed." Relief flooded through Lily until Patricia continued. "However, Marcus Stone is arguing that the ceremony was legally completed. He's filed an emergency motion claiming that you said 'I do' before the recording was played, that the objection came from you rather than a third party, and that according to state law, the marriage is technically valid." The legal trap. That's insane. Lily stood so fast her chair toppled backward. "I never said 'I do.' The ceremony never reached the vows. He has 3 witnesses who claim otherwise," Patricia said grimly. "Sarah Chen, his cousin Robert Stone, and a woman named Michelle Park who claims to have been sitting in the front row. They're lying. Of course they're lying. But proving it is another matter." Patricia pulled out another document. "Marcus filed the marriage certificate with the court this morning. He's claiming that your recording of Sarah was illegally obtained without consent, making it inadmissible. And he's arguing that your objection was merely cold feet, not legal grounds to void the marriage." Lily felt the walls closing in. If that holds up, Marcus Stone becomes the majority shareholder of Bennett Pharmaceuticals. He can fire your father, dissolve the board, sell the company piece by piece. Patricia's expression was stone. He wins everything. The call for war. Lily grabbed her phone and dialed the number she'd memorized the night before. Ethan Cross answered on the first ring. "I was wondering when you'd call," he said. "I need your help. Now." Lily's voice was steady despite the panic clawing at her throat. "Marcus is claiming we're married. He's going after the company." Silence. "Then, I'll be there in 20 minutes. He arrived in 15. Ethan Cross strode into the study like he owned it, rain dripping from his black coat, his eyes sharp and assessing. He shook hands with Lily's father and Patricia, then turned his full attention to Lily. "Tell me everything," he commanded. She did. When she finished, Ethan was quiet for a long moment, his mind clearly racing through scenarios and strategies. "We need to prove the marriage never happened," he finally said, "and we need leverage to force Marcus to back down. Which means we need to hit him where it hurts most, his reputation and his freedom." "How?" Lily asked. Ethan smiled, and it was a predator's smile. We prove he's done this before. We find his previous victims, get them to testify, and we build a pattern of fraud so damning that no court in the country will validate this marriage." He paused. "And we find out who's backing him." The investigation begins. Backing him? Lily's father leaned forward. "You think he's not working alone? Men like Marcus Stone don't operate in a vacuum," Ethan said. "He's too smooth, too prepared. Someone is funding him, advising him, providing legal cover. Sarah might be his lover, but she's not his mastermind." He looked at Lily. "Do you know who else attended your wedding? Any faces you didn't recognize?" Lily closed her eyes, replaying the scene. The crowd had been a blur of silk and judgment, but there had been someone, a man in the back row, older, distinguished, watching with cold calculation. "There was someone," she said slowly, "silver hair, expensive suit." He wasn't on the guest list. Ethan pulled out his phone and showed her a photograph. "This man?" Lily's breath caught. "Yes. Who is he?" "Victor Crane. Corporate raider. He specializes in hostile takeovers of pharmaceutical companies. He buys them cheap, strips the assets, and sells off the patents to the highest bidder." Ethan's expression darkened. "If he's involved, this isn't just about your money, Lily. It's about destroying Bennett Pharmaceuticals entirely." The counterstrike. Over the next 72 hours, Lily learned what revenge truly meant. Ethan's investigation team worked around the clock. They found Marcus's previous victims, 4 women across 3 states, all wealthy, all targeted through carefully constructed romances. 2 agreed to testify. The 3rd had died by suicide. The 4th had disappeared entirely. They traced financial records linking Marcus to Victor Crane through a series of shell companies. Payments. Promises. A percentage of the Bennett fortune in exchange for Crane's legal and financial expertise. And they found something else, something that changed everything. "Lily," Ethan said, appearing at her door at 2 a.m. His eyes were blazing with a mixture of triumph and fury. "You need to see this." He handed her a file. Inside were medical records, her mother's medical records from the year before she died. "I don't understand," Lily whispered, scanning the pages. "These say she was poisoned, slow-acting arsenic, but the official cause of death was heart failure, because someone paid to have the real autopsy buried," Ethan said quietly. "And I think I know who." He showed her another document, a life insurance policy, taken out by her father on her mother's life 10 years ago. Beneficiary, James Bennett. "No." Lily shook her head violently. "My father loved her. He would never." "I don't think he did it," Ethan interrupted gently, "but I think someone wanted you to think he did." "Look at the signature." Lily looked. The signature was her father's, but the handwriting analysis attached to it proved it was forged. "Marcus," she breathed. "He was planning this for years. He wasn't just going after me. He was going after my entire family. The trap is set." The court hearing was scheduled for Thursday morning. Marcus and his lawyers were confident. They had their witnesses, their fabricated evidence, their elaborate lies. What they didn't have was the truth. Lily walked into that courtroom with her head high, Ethan at her side. Her father was there, weak but present. Patricia Moore was ready. And in the back row sat 2 women Marcus Stone had never expected to see again, his previous victims, ready to testify. The judge was a severe woman named Helena Cross, no relation to Ethan, but sympathetic to his investigative methods. She reviewed the evidence with meticulous care. Marcus's attorneys presented their case. The witnesses testified. Sarah, looking pale and nervous, swore that Lily had agreed to the marriage. Then Patricia Moore stood. "Your Honor, I'd like to submit new evidence." She played the full recording of Sarah's confession, not the snippet from the wedding, but the entire 32 minutes, including Sarah explicitly discussing forging documents and planning to sell off Bennett assets. She presented testimony from Marcus's previous victims, each one telling eerily similar stories of manipulation and fraud. She showed the financial connections to Victor Crane. And then she showed the evidence of the forged signature on the insurance policy and the buried autopsy report. The fall. Marcus went white. Sarah was trembling. Even their lawyers looked shocked. "Your Honor," Patricia said, her voice ringing through the courtroom. "Marcus Stone didn't just attempt to defraud my client. He's been running a criminal enterprise targeting wealthy women for half a decade, and we believe he was involved in the death of Lily Bennett's mother." The judge looked at Marcus. "Mr. Stone, do you have a response to these allegations?" Marcus stood, his charm finally cracking. "This is a witch hunt. These people are lying. The evidence doesn't lie," the judge interrupted coldly. She turned to the bailiff. "Take Mr. Stone into custody. I'm issuing a warrant for Sarah Chen as well. This marriage is declared void ab initio. It never legally existed." She looked at Lily. "Miss Bennett, you have my deepest sympathies and my admiration. The reckoning." As Marcus was led away in handcuffs, screaming about appeals and conspiracies, Lily felt something shift inside her. The weight she'd been carrying, the betrayal, the fear, the anger, began to lift. Ethan touched her arm gently. "How do you feel?" "Exhausted," Lily admitted. Then, surprising herself, free. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. Lily gave a brief statement, her voice steady and clear. Today, justice was served. But more importantly, today we sent a message. Women are not marks. We are not targets. And we will not be silenced. The crowd erupted in applause. 6 months later, Bennett Pharmaceuticals not only survived, it thrived. With Victor Crane's attempted takeover exposed, the company's stock soared. Lily took her place on the board, bringing fresh ideas and fierce determination. Sarah Chen took a plea deal, testifying against Marcus in exchange for a reduced sentence. She would spend 3 years in prison. Marcus Stone was convicted of fraud, conspiracy, and manslaughter in connection with the death of Lily's mother. He would spend the next 20 years behind bars, and Ethan Cross? Lily found him in the garden of the Bennett estate one evening, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of amber and gold. "You've been avoiding me," she said, settling onto the bench beside him. "Not avoiding," Ethan corrected. "Giving you space. You've been through hell." "I have," Lily agreed. She turned to face him. "But I didn't go through it alone. You saved me, Ethan, more than once. You saved yourself," he said softly. "I just provided the tools." Lily reached out and took his hand. His fingers were warm, calloused, strong. "I want to know more about you, not Ethan Cross the investigator. Ethan Cross the person." For the first time since she'd met him, Ethan looked uncertain, vulnerable. "I'm not an easy person to know, Lily. I have demons. So do I now," she said. "Maybe we can face them together." Ethan studied her face, searching for doubt or pity. He found neither. What he found was strength, resilience, and something that looked remarkably like hope. "I'd like that," he said finally. And as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the world in fire and shadow, Lily Bennett, survivor, warrior, heir, leaned her head against Ethan Cross's shoulder and smiled. Revenge, she had learned, wasn't about destruction. It was about rebuilding. About rising from the ashes stronger, wiser, and absolutely unbreakable. Marcus and Sarah had tried to break her. Instead, they had forged her into something they could never have anticipated. A woman who knew her worth. And that was the sweetest revenge of all.